Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. We're playing e4 as per usual. Our opponent responds with a Sicilian, so of course we're going to go for the Mengarini Sicilian here, hoping for interesting lines with knight c6. We don't see interesting lines with knight c6. However, we do see interesting lines with g6. We can play h4 here, a disgusting move, I believe recommended by Magnus, oh yes, against Hikaru in a blitz game. I think this is where I've seen this. And they don't play the boring h5, not allowing me to have fun with my own h5. Instead, they let me play it, which, I mean, it's not like they've made any mistake here. I'm clearly playing some dubious stuff. We've played h4, h5, and it's move 4. However, immediately biting at what you would call a hook here in front of potentially where our opponent's king's going to be castled. He's going to force some tension that's going to allow us to open that h-file and make it very dangerous for them to castle kingside. And given that their first move was committing the c pawn to c5, castling queenside also has its drawbacks, and so this is kind of a very aggressive way to say to this king, listen, I do not intend to leave you safe for any part of this game. Not opening, not middle, not end. Okay, they've gone for this pretty classic structure with, I mean, I actually play this quite often. It's like a pterodactyl if I actually had, played a Sicilian like a normal person. Or I guess probably it's just a dragon Sicilian. They probably wouldn't have played the pterodactyl line. Anyway, they play d6. This makes a lot of sense. We're going to go knight c3 here because, frankly, I need to move. I've spent a minute and a half just talking about being aggressive, but actually not done anything yet. However, this pawn structure does allow maybe bishop c4. They take here, which if I take with the queen, they can play maybe knight f6, and then we just have to move said queen. I kind of like playing bishop c4 first. We're just going to develop these pieces. This pawn is now structurally weak. It's doubled and isolated. Even though they can defend it in the short term as they do, with the knight here, you're not going to hold on to this pawn for very long, and if you decide to castle this way, I really do believe you should probably reconsider that. Now we're going to play d4 or d3. I want to move this bishop. I want to probably play queen d2, get castle queenside. Maybe even queen f3 or queen e2, or I don't know. But certainly we don't want to leave this poor bishop with no breathing room here. I guess actually, hold on. Knight f3 with the idea to try to exploit this pressure on f7 and maybe induce the move e6. And if we do see e6, maybe the dark squares become, considerably more... Oh no, okay. I thought we might have had something interesting there, but the bishop's just held. We don't have any sack. My first thought always when I see bishop g4 or there's a bishop on c4 is to sack, but of course that doesn't work for many reasons, or rather two reasons, both of them, being our opponent's pieces. Now it'd be great if they played bishop f8 next move, and then I could play knight here and, they took my queen and we mate them. Clearly that's not going to be possible, and also would be a blunder even in that circumstance anyway. I think probably I'm just going to go for d3, which isn't as aggressive as d4, but I'm not quite sure I have the firepower to justify d4 just yet. However, definitely still need to be able to move this bishop. Maybe I should have, maybe I should have taken on g6. I don't know, we'll see. They do decide to castle kingside. Okay. Now, as we mentioned, queenside wasn't exactly that exciting for them. And probably I'm going to get toasted with a6, b5, biting on this hook and then just killing my queenside as well. But certainly you can say that this has justified our h4, h5 super early, at least to some extent. Now I think I need to just move my bishop. I think doing so and placing it on g5 doesn't seem ridiculous. We need to put it somewhere. g5 seems like almost as good a square as any. If you play h6, we can always move it, but that just seems to be putting a target there, pushing further pawns in front of the king. I don't think that's going to be a great idea. Maybe it could be, but we could always drop the bishop back. The only real thing I'm worried about here is the pushing of these pawns with like maybe e6 and d5 or a6 and b5, but they clearly want some, they're smelling blood on d4, I see. Okay, that's fine because I'm going to play queen d2. And the reason I'm playing queen d2 is, first of all, to unpin this. Second of all, because I do not care if you take here and then ruin my pawn structure by making me have to recapture and double the pawns on the f-file, because that's an open g-file, baby. And an open g-file with a semi-open h-file in front of an opponent's king castle kingside should be pretty convincing. If we could, castle queenside, whack a rook there, put the bishop on h6, the queen on g5, swarm in with the pieces and have a very good time. Also, taking this would destabilize this pawn. I just think this is not a good move to go for. And so, oh, wow. Okay. I mean, speak of the devil, maybe I've missed something here. I guess they can now jump into d4. I mean, we've got a recapture, of course. They will jump into d4 or not. They go across this way. I guess hitting the bishop as well, which is maybe more interesting. They are threatening basically everything with this knight move. But come on, man. Okay, we castle queenside. You take here. I lose my dark square bishop. I don't love that, but at the same time, queen f4 takes here. I guess you've got time to play king h8 maybe. And then when I bring my rook across to g1, you could play rook g8. But then I could take here. But I guess there might be some knight f8 threat. I really would rather keep this dark square bishop. So probably the play is to just try and not allow them to take on here, of course, and just give up this bishop, because actually, you know what, all the plays about the dark squares over here. Are there any active ways I can do so though? I mean, my queen's quite well positioned here. I don't really want to... Oh, I could play rook h3. Is that risky and potentially dumb? Yes. Is that why I'm going to play it? Yes. Here, queen d7, rook g3, h4. Take with the bishop. Okay, there might be some line with queen d7, rook g3, h4, takes with the bishop, knight h5. I'm pretty suspicious of what I've just done here. Damn. Here. You don't have knight h5 straight away. You can sack the pawn to be able to play knight h5 to take that rook potentially off the third rank here. Okay, I knew this move might be dumb and I knew precisely the potential punishing line and then just didn't calculate it. It's what real alpha males do. However, maybe we don't care because maybe we're on the open g file. They decide to take. Okay, yeah, nice. This is good, because I was a little scared of this line. We're, of course, going to recapture. Hold on, though, man. Yeah, you best run. What the hell? Okay, we can castle now. It seems like this is almost necessary. Obviously, they're going to have some time to, like, readjust and defend around here, but that doesn't mean we don't still have a super exciting brewing attack. Castling is going to make a whole lot of sense. Swing the rook to the g file, maybe even to the h file. We want to take this and put pressure on that h7 square. And we maybe are going to be going for d5, because actually, taking this bishop here has given me a Marozzi bind on d5, which is a callback to something that is actually, you know, reasonable to play against the Sicilian rather than whatever the hell I've done here. You can play c4 at times, maybe not immediately, although I think it's possible. Maybe there's some, I think it's called a Kramnik Sicilian maybe, with this and e6 and knight here and bishop e2 maybe. Anyway, we now have something genuinely reasonable going on. We're of course going to whack the rook on the g file. Are we of course going to do that? I think we're of course going to do that. That seems pretty obvious to me. Although maybe, actually hold on, because it could belong on the h file. You know what? I do want to move this rook, but not to the g file. I want to move to the h file. We want to get on these open files, of course. I mean, why the hell not? The start of the game, the whole idea that we've gone for here, let's look to exploit that. In some way, I guess we're threatening to remove a defender and take a pawn, but that seems pretty unconvincing. Although maybe could be genuinely convincing, actually, if you really just can't get your pieces up and over in time to defend h7. We could be threatening, let's say b5 here for some reason. Takes here, and then imagine they took like this. I think we'd be threatening check here, and actually, is there a mate there? I don't know, potentially not, because we don't have access to h3. But you take my point that we probably at some point are going to be threatening sacrificing on h7 if we open all of this up, and genuinely just a ladder on the side of the board. They do play b5. Hold on, I'm just calling out my opponent's moves here. Probably I should have put some time into actually calculating that. Here, rook h5. Let's say rook here. I guess like queen h6, the rook comes up to g7, rook h3. Hold on, this might actually be a good idea. Or we just play knight here, but then you take. Guys, I think I'm going to go for this. Takes. We're then just going to take on h5. And we're going to say, you know what? The speed that it's going to... I'm convinced, actually. The more I see it, the more I like it. We take here. We've got queen h6 on the cards. You play a move like bishop here, and it's just going to be GG, with probably like a rook sack, and then queen h6, yeah, king here and checkmate. And if you play rook g8, as we've said, we have queen h6, and if rook g7, we just take, obviously. Okay, I don't know why I didn't see that in my calculation. The speed with which we can get over here, and of course g5 is plentifully held. I needed to check that about a million times in my head. That was maybe why it took me so long to calculate that, because I was just so deathly worried about potential pins here. If you could like get over with the queen, or they decide to take the knight? Hold on. Do we even recapture? I'm starting to think the answer is definitely not. Queen here, and what do you play? Queen h6. Look at the state of this. You just don't have time to get over. Your queen can't do anything. Oh my word. Resignation! What? Okay, so here we are in the analysis. 85% accuracy, clearly quite a short game. Everything was basically perfect, it seems, apart from this one blunder, which was, as I suspected, rook h3. So we'll quickly go through that. e4, c5, a3. We go for this line with h4 here. It'd be interesting to see if I was right with rook h3 and the line with h4 and knight h5, I think. If that was the punishing line, then, I mean, there's going to be some redemption to the blunder and the fact that I knew it was a blunder, but boldly decided to play it anyway. But yeah, h4 here is disgusting. Played, if we look at the Masters database, actually non-trivial amount of times, 13%. And if you have a little look at the win rate, 39% is disgusting. I mean, look at the win rates for all the other moves in this position. I mean, if b4, actually, black does really well. Knight c3, like, okay, but black still does quite well. d4 is clearly trash. Bishop c4 does not very well. You see Shahryar Mamedyarov beat Magnus Carlsen with this. That is sick. Anyway, sorry. They play bishop g7. We go for h5. We're going to turn off the Masters database because there's not that much. In fact, one sec. A quick glance at the Lee Chess database lets us know that actually there's 350 games here and white has a pretty good win rate. It's a cool opening. They go here. We play knight c3. Then bishop c4. We let the advantage slightly slip away, as you can see from this graph, but we're just developing. You know, we've created a permanent problem, which, oh boy, did we exploit. The bishop goes here. We decide to play d3, and they castle kingside, which is a mistake. Of course, slightly odd. Probably what they should have done is leave the king in the center, or maybe they could have castled queenside, I guess. But I guess they believed that they had enough of a secure setup here with all the pieces that actually they were going to be fine. Little did they know that I was going to play queen d2 and let them take this because, oh boy, taking with that g pawn, opening that g file. They should have gone for knight to d4, which was what I was originally worried about, but knight to here seemed really good as well. I guess I just had queen e2 holding this. I kind of didn't want to take my queen off of this battery, but obviously this would have been a good move. If they take here, then we can recapture, and again, the bind that we have on d5 is probably a helpful thing. And we can castle, we can whip the rook over, we can still play like bishop h6, we can still go after this pawn. The game's very much still alive. However, rook h3, queen here, best move, rook across, and their best move was to sack the pawn. Okay, because after h4, well, I mean, I knew it was a blunder, and played it anyway because, oh boy, activity over everything. Even at the cost of the game, apparently. Yeah, look, and if we take here, there's knight h5, as I said, and then supposedly here we're supposed to sack the rook. Would have been very interesting to see if I'd have played that. Obviously, if they take with the king, we have queen g5. But if they take with the knight, we then just castle queenside. This is sickeningly fun. And then we're going to go here, we're going to go here. We're going to just try to exploit things desperately with the bishop, maybe f6. And if you take, there's going to be like a fork with the knight. Who knows? I would have been proud to play that line. I don't know whether I've sacked. Let me just have a look at the position and see what jumps out to me after knight here. I guess I would have been thinking, okay, I can't go here or here. I guess I could just castle and let them take, but I don't want to, you know, close the g file. I honestly think I might have played the sacrifice. Obviously, it's very easy to see after you've seen that it was a possible move. But yeah, instead they decided to take here, and now at this point we're just exploiting that g file. The rook over to h1 is the best move, and then b5 predicted somehow. And we remove that knight. Now, this wasn't the best move, in fact. Oh, no, it was, sorry. You just had to give the engine a second to catch up with me. Yeah, removing the knight, although I should have played queen h6 first, which does make sense. Instead of, I mean, taking the rook is still an excellent move, obviously. They could have played queen e6 here, and had they done so, there's some line after here with bishop g5 check, such that obviously we have to take with the queen, so if we take with the rook, we're going to lose our queen, and after doing so, they can come over and defend the pawn here, maybe. I mean, we're clearly still crushing. We're going to have an extra knight in the end anyway. If takes here, takes, we could even, you know, capture this pawn, stack here, take this, knight here. Or in fact, sorry, they could have played rook g8. Okay, interesting. We're still up a full knight here. But the point of queen h6 first is that if they decide to, for instance, take this, then we have the beautiful queen h7, king here, and then that ladder that I was talking about. But instead of a rook sack, it was a queen sack. So a little annoying that I didn't go for that. But after here, yeah, they take, and then queen h6 here, just not even recapturing the bishop, and they resign because there is nothing to be done. I mean, supposedly they could, I don't know, give a check. We take, throw away the queen to defend the mate, and then at this point just realize that they have only one other possibility, and that is to walk directly into mate in one. What a disgusting game. Opening the h-file nice and early, exploiting it in the most visually disgusting and obvious way. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully my enormous traps didn't distract you from the beautiful gameplay that was going on here. It's a little warm in my room right now, so, you know, forgive me. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Check out the links in the description to support the channel. If you're a beginner or intermediate player looking to get some wisdom bestowed upon you, then check out willtaylorchess.com or send me an email if you're interested. But yeah, again, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.